Rachel here with Meet Advisors, and I am here with Kevin Madden, CEO and co-founder of Night Owl. Kevin, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Tell our audience a bit about your background and how you thought of the idea for Night Owl, which is awesome, I might add.
Thank you.
Yes.
I like your enthusiasm for it.
Thanks.
My background is that I was an engineer in college, went into investment banking after college. Candidly, I hated it, but I went there kind of to get a little bit of a business, kind of paid grad school. I was in engineering, so I didn't really have much of that. I was in private equity for 9 years after that.
Okay.
And it was, in terms of private equity, the place I was at called KPS, very hands-on. We were turning around bankrupt businesses,
wow.
Corporate carve-outs. So very much like not financial engineering, sitting behind a computer screen. So I loved it, but I always really had sort of a major urge to build something of my own and to get into kind of creating something.
Entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah, and just like creation. There's something really cool about creating something. And so it's, doing the entrepreneurial thing, it's a little like art school for people who couldn't draw,
Yeah.
And I'm definitely in that category.
That's
so that was my background. You asked about Night Owl and why we came up from.
Yeah, how did you think of that?
And it really came from personal experience. And I guess I should get into what Night Owl is, but it's, Night Owl it's a local search platform. So think of Google Maps or TripAdvisor or Yelp or Foursquare, but we're specifically focused on when you're not eating, so when you're getting drinks.
Okay.
And so that could be a place to watch, a game. It could be you want to go out dancing. It could be you want to get drinks after work or after dinner. But the primary idea is that you're not thinking with your stomach.
Right.
And the reason we came up with it, the background for it, I've lived in New York for 13 years. There are 3,000 places in New York City to get drinks.
Wow.
It's a little intimidating, and I think what ends up happening, whether you're in your city or you're traveling, is that you end up kind of going to what you know.
Right.
Not necessarily the greatest place to go, but you're known like, what's the word I'm looking for? But basically...
Right, like the bar down the street or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. And there are so many places to go out and explore. We wanted to kind of create something that made that easier to do. And the reason we kind of broke it out from all the other elements of local search is that food and drink get sort of lumped together because lots of places that you can get drinks at are also food.
Yeah.
And so going on to Yelp, let's say, and reading through a bunch of reviews, most of which might be about the food, is kind of irrelevant if you're not looking to eat. And that star rating it has could be completely misleading if that's not really your primary purpose.
Totally. I love that idea. I feel like I always end up at the same bars, or me and my friends will be like, oh, where do we want to go? A pub? A club? Who knows? So it's hard to, Google search that.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have made that super easy for the consumer.
We're certainly trying to. And I think the other piece to it is that when you remove if you're not looking to eat, what you're looking for is a lot more subjective. It's the crowd, it's the scene, it's the noise level. It's a lot of things that don't really, you can't really get much of an idea for it if you're reading through reviews from people you've never met before. It's much more subjective. And so a big part of what Night Owl is that it's personalizing. The more you use it, the more it gets a sense of what you like and what you don't like. And
that's cool.
Yeah, well, I think so. But that's really the idea for it. So that it's really your personal assistant when you're in a city you're unfamiliar with, or a part of your own city that you're not familiar with. It gives you immediate, you open it up and you know what you're getting. It's a drinking spot. You don't have to kind of navigate through some kind of larger search app.
Right, makes sense. So how many cities have you guys launched in?
So we just launched right before the holidays in New York only.
Okay.
But we are changing that very soon. We haven't really announced anything more,
Okay.
but the idea is definitely that it's not just a New York City app,
Great.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, definitely something that I think everybody could use.
Yeah.
Definitely you should look into Chicago.
I love Chicago.
Yeah. So what does this space look like? I know I've heard of similar apps, but like you said, a lot of them are in the food space.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate yourselves from those apps, especially if they are on the drink side?
Yeah. We think it's a really interesting time to be in local search. First of all, it's a huge opportunity. We live much more in a way in which we're making decisions as we go. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't, before a weekend in the city, you don't, print out directions to every place you plan to go to. No. You really make decisions on the go. And, search is obviously very valuable. It's why Google is, what Google is. Right. But the local piece, it really hasn't changed a lot in the last 10 or 15 years. It's kind of incrementally maybe gotten better here and there, but there hasn't really been a major disruptive change in it. So that really got us excited. And to your question of how we separate ourselves, I think when you're looking for something, when you're in that experience of pulling out a search app, there's a real value in immediacy, of speed of getting an answer. Right. And getting back into your life. You don't want to be spending 20 minutes, browsing through reviews and reading a bunch of stuff. You want an answer and you want to go. And so we've really, in terms of design of the app, everything is about getting you that answer as quickly as possible, and also to really aggregate, to bring everything that's kind of relevant when you're in the mindset of drinking into one place.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So have you divulged how many users you guys have? How many bars are on your app as well? Bar-wise,
in theory, they're all there. Okay. It's not like we're, putting them in individually ourselves.
Not going door to door to everybody.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're all in there. So in New York, like I said, it's 3,000 plus.
Yeah.
And in terms of number of users, we haven't really talked about that publicly, but it's a good number and it's growing. Yeah. And we're very happy with our traction in New York. What we most look at is how people come back. Those who have found us, because we really haven't done much in terms of marketing yet. Yeah. But those who have found us, are they coming back to the app? And those numbers are very good.
That's exciting.
So yeah, that gave us
good to hear.
That gave us sort of a feeling, okay, we might be onto something here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who was thinking about launching an app, especially in the consumer space? It's a hard thing to do.
It is. It's a very crowded space to be in.
It is.
I think what I would say is to get something out there and iterate with it. We actually, before we launched Night Owl, we put another app out there and did nothing in the way of marketing, but just in a sense of learning what it's like to, if you haven't done anything in terms of selling or producing an app, there's a lot to really learn about the ins and outs of app store search. Right. And optimizing for that, and what keywords you should use and things like that you really need to just kind of go through. So what I would say is do it. Just put something out there and learn from that, and you just iterate.
That's really great advice. I love it. Kind of an MVP product, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. MVP is the right word for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, can you tell our audience where they can find Night Owl?
Yeah. Easiest place is to go to nightowl.com. Okay. And there's a link right there.
Perfect. Kevin, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Great to be on.